Are you ready to turn your business dreams into reality? Do you want to build a successful business from the ground up? Then this podcast is your ultimate guide. Join us as we take you on an exciting journey through the world of entrepreneurship, one number at a time. We'll explore different industries, break down the numbers, and provide you with the tools and resources you need to succeed. From Dave Ramsey's baby steps to my own entrepreneurial journey, we'll share our experiences and insights to help you build a strong foundation for your business. But this podcast isn't just for beginners. Even if you're a seasoned entrepreneur, you'll learn new strategies and techniques to take your business to the next level. This is Figuring the Figures for Entrepreneurs by Stickman. Subscribe now to our podcast and start your journey to success. Ask your smart speaker or device to skip through the podcast using the following timestamps. For the intro, skip to minute 0. For timestamps, skip to minute 115. For baby step 2, skip to minute 236. For explaining the budget template, skip to minute 345. For paying off 7 credit cards, skip to minute 818. For debt free, skip to minute 2306. For getting rid of a car loan, skip to minute 2349. For turning a $20,000 loan into a $5,000 loan, skip to minute 2450. For how to pay off $5,000, skip to minute 2525. For back at 0, skip to minute 2712. For closing statements, skip to minute 2922. For episode notes, links, or descriptions, go to stickman.com/podcasts. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Figuring the Figures. In this episode, we'll talk about baby step number 2. In baby step number 2, we're paying off our debt from least to greatest. In the first episode, we gave an introduction about what Figuring the Figures is. It's for entrepreneurs who are wanting to cash flow their business and not get into debt or stay out of debt, or who are wanting to just start fresh cash flowing their business. In the second episode, we talked about baby step number 1, which was saving $1,000 of emergency funds. In baby step number 2, we're paying off our debt from least to greatest. We're following Dave Ramsey's baby steps in order to cash flow our business. For those of you who are not aware, look into Dave Ramsey or follow along, and we'll talk about each step and why these steps are important into your life and into your business. So let's get to it. If you're struggling with debt and you want to find a way out, then this is the episode for you. I'm your host, Stickman, and in this episode, we're going to talk about and we're going to work through a budget, getting rid of our debt. For the audio listeners, I have a budget template here that I'm going to work through in order for you to follow along. You can either listen closely or go to the YouTube channel and watch the video format of this episode. I'm going to explain a little bit of the budget in order for you to understand it before I get into it. So at the very top of our spreadsheet or our template, we have a table that says income. We have an income stream and the total of our income. Then on the bottom of that, we have a table that separates categories of our finances. The first column is pretty much a breakdown in the title of the categories. The second column is the goal. So pretty much according to what you're making, it is automatically calculated of what should be going where. And then our third column shows the actual budget. So the budget you are working with, the budget that you have implemented into your system, and it's gonna pretty much show at the very last column the difference of what your goal is versus what you're actually doing. The very first row is our tithing. Dave Ramsey recommends that 10% goes to your tithe. The second row would be housing. So these are the percentages after tithing. After you've tithed $100, 25% goes into your housing, which is $225 on a $1,000 income. We're going to do a weekly income basis here according to our experiment or example here. Utilities is 10%, which would be $90. Wheels, anything with wheels on it, car and all that stuff, 10%, which is $90. Your food, also 10%, which is $90 as well. Needs, 5%, which is $45. Your fun, $45, which is also 5%. Family fun or family activities, another 5%, which is $45 as well. You invest 15%, which is $135, and you save 10%, which is $90. If your health insurance is not already taken out from your account or from your budget or from your check, it is another 5%, which is $45. The actual budget we're working with is $100 for tithing. And that zeroes us out. Our housing, we're budgeting $300, which is $75 over our goal. We're putting $100 towards our utility bills. That's $10 over. $100 towards our wheels, which is also $10 over. $100 towards our food, which is also $10 over. We're budgeting $50 for our needs, which is $5 over. $50 for our fun, which is $5 over. But we put nothing in our family category. So that leaves us with $45 to work with in that area. We're investing, quote unquote investing, but $35 is going to our credit cards every week. And that's a total of $140 a month. So if we're making minimum payments to our credit cards and a total of $140, we have 7 credit cards. You divide 140 divided by 7 credit cards, that's $20 a piece each month. And that's what I did here. I broke down 7 credit cards, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And last but not least, we're saving $165, which is $75 over our goal. Let me explain what we're about to do here in our example. We have 7 credit cards. The first one is $100 balance. Second one, also $100. Third one, $400. Fourth one, $500. Fifth one, $600. Sixth one, $1,000. Seventh one, $1,200. If we're making a minimum payment of $20 a month on all our credit cards together, that's $35 a week that we have to put aside for the end of the month to be able to pay the minimum payment on all 7 credit cards. This might have happened quicker because somewhere around those months, you didn't have to make that last minimum payment because you paid it off. But let's just assume that with interest you did, just to make the example easier. The $165 that we're quote unquote saving is going to go towards baby step number 2, paying our debt off from least to greatest. If you're making $1,000 a week, the very first thing you're going to do with your extra money is pay off that first credit card. We're not going to look too much into the interest rates because psychologically, as Dave Ramsey has studied, that if you pay off from your smallest debt to your greatest debt, it's actually more efficient than paying off the highest interest rate to your lowest interest rate. Because sometimes our highest interest rate may be a higher balance. But if you're attacking a higher balance, you might get thrown off track, or you might get unmotivated, or you might just not do it. So we're just following Dave Ramsey's method here. $100 for our first credit card. When you first get paid and you were working this budget religiously, you are going to pay off your first credit card. You get your first check. Minimum payments on all your cards is $35, and you're able to save $165. Let's assume you already have $1,000 in your emergency savings, correct? We're not going to worry about $1,000 right now because those $1,000 are for emergency funds. We're going to focus on our debt from smallest to greatest. On your first check, you have $165 to work with. Your first card is only $100. That gives you $65 remaining. So if you have $65 remaining and you have a $100 balance on your second card, you're only left with $35 on that second card. Well, now we have zero savings by the end of the check. You also have 6 remaining credit cards left. If you have 6 remaining credit cards left with the $20 minimum payment every month, and you divide that by 4 weeks, you're only having to put $30 aside for your credit cards. You see how that works? Now, on your second check, you'll be able to save $170 instead of $165. Your second card has a balance of $35. If you have $170 and you subtract $35 from it on your second check, you now have 2 cards you paid off, 5 cards with a minimum payment of $20, and a remaining of $135 that you can apply towards your third credit card. Are you following me here? We have 5 credit cards now with a minimum payment of $20. That's $100 a month, and you divide that by 4. You're now putting aside $25 towards all your credit cards. We still have $135 left over after paying our second credit card. Our third credit card is $400 balance, and you put $135 into that credit card. You have a remaining of $265. At the end of the second check, we have $0 in our savings. And because we only have 5 credit cards, with a minimum payment of $20 in 1 month, we have $25 to put aside every paycheck before we save or before we attack our third credit card. On your third check, you'll be able to put aside $175. Your third credit card has a remaining balance of $265. And on your third check, you're able to save $175. So if we put those $175 towards our third credit card, we now have a remaining balance of $90 with still a minimum payment of $20 on that card. And our minimum payment on a weekly basis is still $25 because we haven't paid off another card yet. On your next check, you're going to do the same thing. You have a remaining balance of $90 on that third credit card, and you put whatever you have of your $175 to pay that off. You have $85 to work with. You have a remaining balance of $85 that you can put at your fourth credit card with a remaining balance of $500. So 500 minus 85 is 415. This is happening pretty quick. You now only have 4 credit cards that you pay a minimum payment a month of $20. You divide that by 4, that's $20. Our last check, we were putting $25 towards our credit cards for our minimum payments on a monthly basis. Well, now that we're only putting $20 for our minimum payments, we're able to save $180. Every check, that's every week. We can fast forward all this to see how long it'll take us to get to our debt paid off. But this is the method that we're implementing to make payments on our credit cards from least to greatest, using this budget and using this method and using this example. The more cards you pay every check, the less you have to put into your quote-unquote investment or your credit cards for a monthly basis. I believe this is the 6th check, and we have $180 to be able to put towards our $415 balance on that 4th credit card. It's going to take 2 paychecks to remain a $55 balance on that credit card. Now let's say we got paid the same amount, $1,000 again. Our utility bills have been the same. Nothing has fluctuated. Perfect, right? $55 balance on that 4th credit card with $180 to be able to save. Now you can pay off that 4th credit card with $125 remaining. You zeroed out that 4th credit card. Your 5th credit card has a $600 balance, and those $125 you paid towards that 5th credit card, leaving you with a remaining $475 to that card. And now, because you only have 3 credit cards with a minimum payment of $20, that's $60 a month, and you divide that by 4, you can now put $15 aside towards your credit cards every check. On the next check, you'll be able to save $185 instead of $180. There's a snowball effect here. And we have a $475 balance on that card that we're focused on. You subtract $185 to it, $290. Again, $105. 2 paychecks, and you're almost done again. You have $105 remaining balance. And your next check, you're also going to put $15 aside to make minimum payments on all the remaining of your credit cards. And you're going to be able to save $185. You got paid once more. You have $185 minus the remaining of that 5th credit card of $105. You have $80 to put towards that 6th card. Now you have $920 remaining on the 6th card, paying or saving $185. So you have 2 cards with a $20 minimum payment. Guess what? Now you only have to put $10 aside every check to have at the end of the month an amount for your minimum payment on your credit card. This might have happened quicker because somewhere around those months you didn't have to make that last minimum payment because you paid it off. But let's just assume that with interest you did. just to make the example easier. You have a $920 remaining balance on your 6th credit card, but now you're able to save $190 every check, and you are able to pay the remaining 2 credit cards quicker. It's a lot of numbers, but this is happening rather quickly, and at the end of the day, this is what the episode consists of. Baby step number 2, paying your debt off from least to greatest. We're going to get in a couple examples here of other debts that you might have acquired other than credit cards or loans. But for this example, we're just going to follow these procedures here. If you had a $920 remaining balance and you're paying $190 towards that card, you've made 1 payment, 2 payments, 3 payments, 4 payments. On your 4th payment, you only have $160 remaining on that card. And you're putting $10 aside for your minimum payments. It's a whole month. So now you're pretty much halfway there for a minimum payment on that last credit card, because on this check, you make $190 payment towards a $160 credit card. You have $30 remaining. Let's do the math so you can understand what I'm doing. You have $190 to save, a $160 remaining balance on that 6th credit card. You have a $30 remaining amount, which then you throw at your $1,200 7th credit card balance, and that leaves you with $1,170. Now you have nothing in your savings. Making $10 payments, well, actually now it'd be $5 payments to your credit card every week instead of $10 payments. Now you're going to be able to save $195 instead of $190 every check that you can apply towards your remaining balance on that 7th credit card. We subtract $195. It's $975, that's 1 time. $780, 2 times. $585, 3 times. $390, 4 times. And guess what? Your last payment, on your 5th payment, you have a remaining balance of $195. Yay! You paid off all your credit cards. You don't have to make minimum payments on any of your credit cards anymore. And now we're able to save $200. In the beginning, when we had 7 credit cards to pay off, we had $165 to save. Now we have $200 to save every week, because you deleted the minimum payments and you deleted all your debt. Think about how quick you're going to be able to save your 3 to 6 months of expenses, which we'll get into the next episode. You might have acquired debt of a car payment. If you do what I did back in 2018, we had a 2018 Honda Accord. And what we did, we sold that car. We were upside down like $3,000. Got a personal loan of $5,000. Applied the remaining $3,000 to that debt. And with the remaining $2,000, I went to get a cash car of $1,500. That left me with $500 left to just, boost my 3 to 6 months of emergency funds. Throughout this time, I did have $1,000 of emergency funds just put aside in case anything happened through that process. If you want to do what I did, it is possible. You can do it. There's a lot of ways you can get rid of your debt. It will take you longer If you apply the same method that we're applying here in baby step number 2 to pay off your loan on your car, what would you want to do? Would you want to have over a $20,000 loan to pay off, or would you rather make that loan down to $3,000 and pay that off way sooner than the $20,000? So let's not forget about the cash car we bought that we also used that loan for. That was a total $5,000 loan, right? $3,000 goes to the upside down amount on that car. $2,000 goes to the cash car we used. All of it is still $5,000 because it's going to just one institution, one bank with one set interest rate. If we're saving $200 every week to pay off that $5,000 loan, we divide that by $200. We're going to pay it off in 25 weeks, which is equivalent to 6 months. Versus just keeping the car and paying it off in 3-4 years, we broke it down to 6 months. That's a very fast forward procedure. I would much rather do this than to just stick with a car loan and take 4, 5, 6 times as long, maybe even 8 times as long to pay it off. No point. Mathematically, no sense. Financially, no sense. A lot of people want to stick emotionally to their car and say, but this car is very reliable and whatnot. Well, guess what? That cash car that I bought lasted me a good 3 years. And I finally sold it. I finally didn't need it as a backup car because I was finally set with a whole bunch of funds in my emergency account. We paid off all our credit cards. We paid off our personal loan. We don't have any car loan. We don't owe anybody. We don't owe anything. We're kind of back at zero, right? $1,000 in our emergency funds, no debt, and no emergency funds of 3 to 6 months of expenses. What are other ways that you can make this procedure quicker? Well, you might want to pick up on a part-time job. You might want to sell things you don't need, clothes you don't need, shoes you don't need, anything that you really don't need. All this will make that quicker. Instead of taking a whole year to pay off your credit cards and your car loan and whatnot, by selling your car and getting a personalized loan, you might be able to do it in 8 months because you sold your appliances that you don't need or your gaming system that you don't really use. That adds 2 months to be able to save your 3 to 6 months of expenses. It gets you there quicker. This is why one step at a time is better than trying to say, you know what, I'm going to stick to my debt. I'm going to follow this budget, and if it takes me 10 years, it takes me 10 years. Well, the quickest way to wealth, Dave Ramsey says, and has proven, is to follow the steps. Because the sooner you pay off your debt, the sooner you have to pay less on interest, the sooner you'll be able to invest, the sooner you'll accumulate interest on an income basis. Compound interest instead of paying an institution interest. Because your money is invested somewhere. You're making profits sooner. You're making more money sooner. This was probably the hardest episode to follow along without having a visual on what I did. So please check out stickman.com/podcast for any episode notes or the YouTube link for this visual. I'll catch you on the next episode. Baby step number 3, saving 3 to 6 months of expenses. Peace.